Okay. So welcome everyone to our webinar for Running for Regional Office. We have several of our current regional officers who are on the call today who are eager to share all of their knowledge about campaigning for regional office as well as serving in the role. And so what I'm going to do is they have prepared some questions based on the questions they frequently get about this position. And so I'm going to start by asking those questions, and then we'll open up for any specific questions that our guests may have as well. But before we do that, we want to let each of our regional officers introduce themselves. And so whoever would like to jump in, have at it. This is just like class.
We can go in order if that helps.
Okay then. Hi, my name is Dusty Ellis, and I'm the District 1 Vice President.
I love order.
Okay. Thank you, Dusty.
My name is Jacob Lambie, and I serve as the District 3 Vice President for Texas. So glad to have you guys on the call.
Thank you, Jacob. I think Hope is frozen.
I'm Hope Shagan. I serve as the District 4 Vice President.
Perfect.
Can
Thank you,
hear
Hope.
me?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kaylee, the District 5 representative.
Thanks, Kaylee.
And I am Lavada Burst, and I am from Grayson College, and I am the regional president.
Thank you, Lavada. All right, super. So we have most of the team on today, which is great because that'll give you some different perspectives, because I think that from my experience serving as a regional officer, while there are some things that are just very common as far as some of the responsibilities, it plays out a little differently and people take away different things from it. And so I think it's very valuable to have as many different perspectives as possible. So I'm going to start out by asking, and again, any of the ROs can jump in on this. So what are the main responsibilities of serving as a regional officer in Texas?
I guess I can jump in. So our responsibilities definitely vary, and they vary from district to district. In general, we all work on our regional projects, planning the 3 regional events we have, and planning district events, speaking at inductions and chapter things, and planning district events if we have those.
Okay. Anyone else?
And like Hope said, that it really varies from district to district. So I would definitely ask your RO about what your responsibilities are, because I know from District 3, it's very independent. Like I actually plan all the district meetings and things like that. I know District 2, they have amazing, advisors that like to take care of all that. And they make like these big signs for them. So it's a different feeling. It's a different kind of atmosphere in each district. So I would definitely ask your district coordinator or your RO specifically just about what the responsibilities are, just because they differ kind of so much in between.
And then also as regional president, of course, you do all the same things as the vice presidents will also do, but you will have to do a speech at TCCA. I think I'm getting these acronyms. I get confused with them. In February sometime, and then you'll also present it at TRC as well. So that's something additional.
Absolutely.
And someone's saying something. Okay. Of course, in general, we also just serve as representatives of the region, and for Phi Theta Kappa. So trying to get out there, start, and things like that.
Absolutely. So can you describe a bit about the campaigning process for regional office? Because one of the distinct things that we do in Texas, this isn't necessarily the same in other regions, is that while each of you serve as representatives of your chapter, we run as chapters, right? So your chapters technically hold the positions. And so if you could describe a little bit about what that campaign process looks like, just so everybody knows what to expect as they're heading into TRC and their own campaigns for their chapters.
So I'll jump in. Our campaigning process was kind of different this year. for me specifically, because I came in not really knowing about the campaigning process, so I learned while I was there. But from what I learned, you make a poster, and we have tables to kind of like highlight this is what our chapter has done lately, everything like that. This last year we prepared a skit, which I think is every year, correct? Mm-hmm. We do a little skit to kind of introduce the chapter, have fun, interact with the district, get people involved. And then finally, you'll have a little speaking portion at the end, which I know a lot of people, if they have chosen their chapter representative by then, that person will be giving the speech. But I also know a lot of chapters that don't even decide until after they're elected. That's because that's what my chapter used to do before I came along. So it's a lot of little things, but it's a lot of fun too. So it sounds like, oh my gosh, it's a campaign. I have to prepare. I have to get all this stuff ready. No, it's literally a bunch of people in a room going, wouldn't it be crazy if we did this for our skit? And somebody else goes, that would never work. And then you say, watch me.
That's right.
And then, sorry, for our table, we actually didn't have a poster, but you can have a poster. It's your table, so you make it how you want. They'll give you some guidelines and rules on what can be on the table, what cannot be on the table, but you want to highlight your chapter because your chapter is running. So if you want to talk about HIA, you want to talk about your college project, you want to highlight what your chapter does the best and why you should be chosen. And then also, I would suggest while you're campaigning to also send representatives around to the other tables so you can kind of get a feel for the other chapters as well, not only stand at your own campaign table. But it is a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people. I mean, I meet a lot of people, but I don't think I've met that many people until we campaign. And I'm like, where did they come from? But it really is a lot of fun.
Anybody else? Okay. So I will say that point Lavada made is very good about sending others around to the other tables because your chapter still has to cast a vote for all of the positions. Feel pretty confident. You probably know who you're going to vote for the position for which you're running, but there are other positions. And so you need to certainly go around and decide which chapters you're going to vote for those other positions. So when you're making all your strategic planning for your campaign, don't forget about that important role, whoever you're going to send around. You can't lose sight of that as well. You still have to cast a vote. All right, so I think Jacob mentioned, and this is probably a good opportunity to ask this question, about how his chapter kind of selects their representative after they win. And so how did each of your chapters decide who the representative is going to be? What's the process?
For District 1, at least in my chapter, it was pretty much kind of thrown out there during a chapter meeting. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we're looking for somebody who'd be interested in it. And it started out first with chapter officer positions. And then each person was asked if, since they wanted to run for a chapter officer position, if they'd be willing to run for a regional office position.
Nice.
For me, I know I approached my chapter with the idea. I was a chapter officer, and so my officer team was really supportive with the idea. And we approached our advisors about it, and they were really supportive. And so we were the ones who happened. I was the one who brought it up. And so, of course, it was just kind of a natural flow.
Okay, great. Yes.
Mine was pretty similar to Hope. It was after we went to Catalyst in Kansas City that we really got to see like what Phi Theta Kappa was, and we had just had a new advisor come in like literally 2 weeks before we left, so we were all super excited about it. And we're like, I was the one that kind of brought it up, that was like, hey, we should try this. I mean, even if we don't get the position, it would still be fun to do, and we could help understand more through it. So we just decided to go for it.
Wonderful.
Kind of the same with me as well. But I know that our chapter, if we do have more than one person who wants to be a representative, then we will vote on that. It just so happened that I was probably the only one that stepped up and said anything. I was nervous too. Don't get me wrong. I was nervous. But once we got started, the team was very, very supportive. So I think when your team supports you, you are kind of setting up for the next year, for the next year after that, for more of them to want to actually run. So don't be afraid to mention it to them as well. Hey, even if you're interested, still mention it to others. So it can kind of, I don't know how your chapter does it, but it may be a runoff vote or something like that. But I like when a lot of people want to be regional officers. So
I do too. Call me strange. So just a simple show of hands of our ROs. How many of you were a little nervous going into the campaigning process? Okay, so it's a good thing for people to know, because sometimes we let our fear get in our own way, right? We're like, I'm scared to do this. I don't really know what I'm doing necessarily, and so I'm not going to do it. Never let that fear stand in your way. I think everybody is nervous about the campaign process, and sometimes you're thrown into it like Jacob was. We hear that a lot. We're like, oh, we're campaigning. Okay, that happens too. But just embrace it. It's a journey, and you learn so much about yourself and your chapter, your team from it. And so I think there's a lot of value in this. All right, so many of you were chapter officers before you became regional officers. Wasn't true of everybody, but many of you were. So do you have to be a chapter officer first before you can be a regional officer?
Can I answer this one just because?
Yes.
So like they were saying, I was a kind of special case with the running for regional officer, at least for our little portion, because I think Jesse was also kind of a similar case. He had just joined. But I don't think I was officially an inducted member when Texas Regional Conference was actually going on, because they had grabbed me 2 weeks before and said, okay, you're part of Phi Theta Kappa now, because I had spoken at one of their events. And then a week after that, they said, okay, you're going to be the regional officer for District 3. So I had no idea what any of this meant, anything like that. Like I said, I don't even think I was actually an official member yet. So you definitely do not have to be an officer to run. If you have the passion and you just want to go for it, then nothing's going to hold you back.
Fantastic. 100%. You can be brand new, or you can be a veteran. Doesn't matter. There's opportunities here for you to grow no matter what your experience is in Phi Theta Kappa, and there's guidance if you are brand new. Like, we're not going to let you fail. So that's wonderful. So how many course hours are you taking? Each of you.
I'm only taking 6.
Okay.
I'm currently taking 13.
So I did 10, but next semester I'm going to do 6.
I started with 9 and had to drop down to 6.
Okay.
I was in the same boat. I started with 14, but because of some medical complications, I had to drop down to 10. So.
All right. So you'll see a range, some very full-time, some 3/4 time, some part-time. So you see all of that. Any of you taking only online classes? Taking face-to-face, mix?
Right
Okay.
now, I'm online. The first 8 weeks, I did have a face-to-face, but yes, I'm only online now. Yes.
So you can be only online. If that works best for your schedule and everything, you want to take only online classes, that's fine. You do have to be enrolled in 6 semester credit hours fall and spring during your tenure as a regional officer. And so that can be any combination of face-to-face online or exclusively face-to-face, whatever works best for you. What about being concurrently enrolled at a community college in a 4-year university?
To my knowledge, you can be, correct?
You are correct.
And also, I would just like to say, just like from my experience of being an RO, if you are a STEM major or doing a lot of sciences, because I was on this route too, I was taking organic and I was taking microbiology. I would think very heavily about your schedule for the next year, because doing these hard sciences, if you're going to do 2 or 3 sciences with a lab and things like that, it is a lot harder to balance what you do as an RO and classwork when you have that heavy of a schedule. So if you are going to run for RO and you are going to that STEM and thinking I'm going to take 14, 16, 18 hours, I would really think about that, just because it seems like not much as you go in, but the more work that you do and the more work you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And because, like I said, the more work you put in, the more work you get out. And if you're not putting in all of the emotions and the desire that you want to be, then you're not going to have the full experience. I don't want you to lose the experience of being an RO because you're trying to juggle too much and it becomes too much.
And you kind of want to think about when you're going to take it, fall or spring, because we have a lot of events that's in the fall and you may not want to do all of those sciencey things. We kind of die off in the spring, so you may want to just push it to the spring. It may work out better for you. I know when I did mine, I was strategic about when I took certain classes. My first 8 weeks, I did the really hard classes because it was kind of the beginning of what we were doing as regional officers, and I knew it was going to pick up for us. So then I'm not going to say they're easy class, they're easier classes that I'm taking now. So
it's about doing that real assessment for yourself, right? In order to protect your balance, knowing what your obligations are, whether it be family, work, whatever it may be. Chapter, we can't forget our chapters. You are expected to stay involved with your chapter, even as a regional officer. And so figuring out then what your course load needs to look like to make sure that you can meet all of your obligations. So I think that's a really important tip. That's a life lesson for everybody. Everybody needs to make sure that they're very honest with themselves about the things that they can take on. So I think that's a great piece of advice there. Let's see. So how many events are you required to attend as a regional officer?
So you're only required to attend the 3 conferences and the 3 planning meetings. But you, of course, want to go to your district events and chapter events in your district. And you have the chance to go to International Honors Institute and Catalyst to represent the region. And you definitely want to take those opportunities if you can.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I would say the district VPs have the district responsibilities on top, right? And then, as Lavada mentioned before, the regional president has the opportunity, we're going to say that, to speak at the Texas Community College Teachers Association and give that speech there. So there's some different responsibilities at each of those positions. What are some of the things about the position that surprised you?
So in the beginning for me, the pros from last year told us that it would go the time will fly by. And we were like, yeah, no, it's not going to fly by. The time flew by. They also told us that how much of a family they are. And I was like, we live in different parts of Texas. We're not going to bond that easily. It's just not going to happen. And like, I love these guys. Like, they are my family. So I think that surprised me that it did actually, it was exactly like they told me.
I think another thing that they also told us was that you really get involved in every stage of the planning process for events, from the playlists that we have to the speakers and things like that, everything in between. And I was like, really, we planned a playlist? Like, that's so stupid. But we do every single thing for the events that we are able to. And it can get a lot, but I was like, no way. We do.
Definitely, when you're going to the conferences, because like Hope said, we put so much work and everything like that. If you don't watch it, those conferences will literally go by in a snap of a finger. So if you're going to be a regional officer and you're going to do all this planning, and this is something that I felt that I didn't do well enough, that if I could go back, I wish I would have spent a little bit of time each day at those conferences just kind of soaking everything in. Because I feel like we did all that work and we put so much effort into it, and then it's almost like we weren't even there because we were running everything like that. So definitely, it's going to seem weird, and it's kind of a weird thing to say, but just take time to realize how much you did and how many people that you're kind of impacting by your actions, and just realize that you're doing something good and you should be proud of yourself through those moments.
I 100% agree with that because, I mean, they went by so fast. I didn't get to enjoy them. I'm like, I want to redo. Let's do them again.
It does happen.
Yeah, I would say you get really tired at conferences. As a member, like when I went as a chapter officer, I was exhausted because I stayed up all night having fun or working on homework or things like that. But we stay up planning for the next day or doing more things, and we get exhausted. I remember on the way home from Texas Honors, I was literally falling asleep, like driving home. This last conference at TLC, Lavada said she couldn't get out of bed the next day. Like, it's so much emotional and mental and physical exhaustion that you don't realize you'll get, but it's worth it. So.
Oh, and another thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Another thing I'd like to mention is that this is another thing I found difficult while I was going through, but if you're involved in other things like the honors program at your college, just other things where you have to travel, do events, speak, anything like that, make sure you are planning those things ahead of time. Because when we were at Catalyst, I had to leave because I was speaking somewhere else. And then even arriving at TLC, I arrived literally 5 minutes before the first general session because I was speaking somewhere else. And that's just a life lesson, like Miss Linder will tell you, but planning and prioritize. So just keep that in mind as you're going forward. You'll thank yourself, trust me.
Jacob gets all the cookies today. Planning, yes. I like it.
So another thing is that, as I think everybody's said before, is it is exhausting. And it's something you're not going to be prepared for until you actually do it. Like, just us saying it isn't going to prepare you for it. But another thing is to take time to actually listen to people and, like, make those connections, which is something I regret as well, is that I didn't stay and make connections with people like I could have because I was exhausted or tired. But I highly recommend it. I've met a lot of different people, and they're really, really cool people. So you should just take time to center yourself, because that's very important, is to maintain your own balance, but to try to reach out to other people.
I agree. Y'all are so smart. Look at y'all. What do you think, and some of the things you may have already said may match this, but what do you think was the best part or is the best part, and what do you think is the most challenging part of being a regional officer?
Can I go? Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I think the best part is the people, because not even also, I don't know what I'm saying. Our regional officers, we're all a family, and my district and the region as a whole, I truly think you guys are family, and I love each and every one of you. The ROs know I say I love everyone because I really, really do. So the people, for me, getting to meet everyone and connect with everyone and talk with you so much, even if sometimes I am busy or in a hurry or tired, that's the best part. And the worst part is definitely the exhaustion. The exhaustion, I think mentally it's the worst, physically, whatever. But mentally dealing with the stress of trying to make it perfect for you guys and trying to still maintain that balance. I don't know why you would stress about your balance, but trust me, I do. And that, I think, is really hard.
Okay.
For me, I think the best part, these two go hand in hand. The best part would be seeing people reach out to you and to us and talk about what their favorite part of the conference was, what their favorite part of planning was. But something you have to expect are the people, the negative Nancys at every conference. There's going to be one or several. And so that was probably the worst part, but in a way, it's also a way to grow, is to take those criticisms and don't take it to heart. Because they're not trying to hurt you, at least I hope not.
Yeah.
But
no, I think fair. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, the best part for me by far is, it sounds stupid, but it's the little things. Because, you would think that when you're playing or when you're going to these conferences, you're like, okay, the best part is going to be when I speak or when I introduce a speaker or when I get to go to all the things. The best part for me was going into the seminar groups, meeting people, watching people have fun. But my personal favorite was, I think it was during dinner one time where, do you guys remember TLC? We had like the cornhole thing out. And I got to take off my jacket for like 5 minutes and play cornhole with a group of people. Literally the best part of the whole conference. Can't take that away. So just like I said before, enjoy the little things because they pass too fast. And definitely, like Dusty and Hope said, you can't make everybody happy. You kind of have to throw away that assumption at the beginning.
Truth.
So the best part for me is, of course, I agree with everything that they've already stated. But just being able to grow. A lot of times you think you can't grow anymore. You're like, this is it. This is who I am. No. The other officers on this call, they've changed me in ways I can't imagine. The members who come to conferences, they've changed me. They'll come up and you may not think that you actually did anything to touch anyone, but one person will come up and tell you how much you, don't cry. I'm sorry. One person will tell you how much that you've touched them, and it means the world. So just actually knowing that you touch at least one person, I think that's the best part for me. The difficult part is not actually being around my chapter like before when we went to conferences. That's hard. I think every conference, I used to take 30 or 40 pictures with them, and I think now I have one picture at the very beginning of a conference because we're so busy. So that's a little difficult. They understand, I understand, but that is a little bit hard. So,
I think for me, kind of going off what Lavada said, was definitely the growth, because I meet people now and I have to tell them that like 2 years ago, I was not the person that I am now. Like, I would not have been able to have been up on the stage speaking in front of those people. Like, I wouldn't even be able to be on this call right now and be speaking like I am now. I would want to be like on the floor crying right now. So that has definitely been like a really big growing point for me throughout this year. And I think the hardest thing has been balancing school, work, social life, and this all at one time, trying to make sure that everything is still the way that it should be and keeping, your health the way that it should be. But that's something that you definitely have to lean on your chapter and your advisors and your other regional officers, because we're here for each other and we help whenever we can't do something or if we need help with something.
Absolutely. A lot of things that hold true at the chapter level are true at the regional level as well. As far as that teamwork aspect, it's absolutely essential. All right. So if you, regional officers, could give yourselves some advice, let's say you could go back in time and you could give yourself some advice at the beginning, what would that piece of advice be?
So I'm going to say I gave myself this advice, and apparently I didn't follow it all the way through, and it was maintaining balance. I maintained the balance on the school part, Phi Theta Kappa, chapter level, work level, but I could have done better on friends and family part of it. Like, I'm like, oh, they'll understand. We'll do it later. We'll do it another time. And just last week, my friends were like, are we ever going to see you again? So I feel bad because I did not incorporate that part of balance in. I told myself this at the beginning, but I didn't do it. So that's one thing that if I could go back, I would actually implement.
Say, no, listen to me, right? Yeah.
I think definitely the best piece of advice I could give you is to really realize who your other officers are, because I think it's a big thing that chapters are funny because, you have a lot of different people coming together. But, they have some similarities where you're from the same college, some things. If you get elected, you're all of a sudden sitting at a table with 6 other people that you do not know, maybe have nothing in common with, and you guys have to work together to lead the region from now on. And I mean, I've heard horror stories of, groups that didn't get along so well, and we've been so fortunate that, we have been a close family and we've gotten along together. Sometimes some of us need to go away at a conference for 5 minutes to sleep or recollect, but we do well. And I think that the best advice I could give myself is to realize you're not the loudest voice in the room. Everybody here is important and everybody here has input, and they should all be given the opportunity, because like any group, you're going to have people that speak a lot, like me, which I'm not ashamed. And you're going to have others that really think about an issue and come up with the best option that you never could. So just realize who the people you're working with are, and you'll get along so much better if you try to take it from everybody else's perspective as well.
I would say to accept help, which, as stupid as it seems, we are a team, and it's really important to admit when you don't have time for something or when you don't know how to do something or something like that. Everyone, all of your regional officers are here to support you. Miss Linder and our leadership team are amazing. I know for me, the biggest impact that people have made, obviously everyone's made a big impact on me, but for me, the pros at THI, Georgia and Mayor, brought us ice cream one day. And it's such a small thing, but we were all having such a hard time, I think. I was at our first conference, didn't really know what we were doing, trying to figure things out. And that little thing to make our day better meant the world. Even though we didn't tell them we needed it, they reached out. And so to accept that, I think.
I guess a piece of advice I would give is to actually take time to get to know your team. You're going to be spending a lot of one-on-one time with these people. And so there's a lot of things that you need to know. There are some things that people on your team won't be able to handle, and there's some things that they will do very, very well. But you also have to make sure that to clear up any misunderstandings at the get-go, you need to know their personality as well as what may scare them, what they are not comfortable with. And it's in order to, 1, become closer, and 2, it makes you more effective as a team. So pretty much keep your ears open, your eyes open, and your mouth shut sometimes. And you'll learn a lot.
Right there, does the Did we get everybody? Kaylee, did you do your advice?
Oh, no, I haven't done mine yet. Mine would also be to definitely accept help, because I've always been a very independent person that always tried to do everything on my own. And so it was very difficult trying to make myself reach out to people whenever I needed help with things, or if I was falling behind on something, or if I didn't know how to do something. So that's something that I would have really liked to have told myself before I started this, was don't be afraid to ask for help.
Can I add something?
Okay.
Okay. So when I was campaigning, I had somebody come up to me, and I haven't been able to meet her at any of the other conferences so far, but she gave me the best advice that I've ever heard, and it's something that I would like to share. So it starts with building a castle. So what she said is to bring the bricks to build the castle, but don't bring the blueprints with you, and let your teammates build it. Every one of you is going to be a regional officer, a regional president, regional VP. So, and you're all head honchos. You all have bright ideas, and you're all going to have different skill sets. And every one of you is probably used to being a leader in a group, used to taking charge. But you have to understand that there's 6 people that are going to do the exact same thing. And so you can't bring the blueprints, or they're going to get ripped to shreds.
Absolutely. That is a good piece of advice. You need to find that person.
I've tried. Hopefully she sees this because I love her.
She's like, I'm here. No, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? All right. So what questions might we have from our attendees about campaigning, serving, any aspect that you can think of about being a regional officer? The ROs are here and eager to answer your questions.
Can you hear me? Hi. Okay. Hi. My name is Ferdinando. Hi. Yeah. I have one question. I keep hearing this skit. Okay. So it is funny that everyone in my chapter is like, "Oh, this skit, it's gonna be so fun and all." And I keep hearing people like they're gonna dress up like a dragons or like something like super crazy stuff. But as someone who is not even my first language, English, I'm not even sure what skit means. So how is it really like the process? Like how long is the event, and after that, like how long is supposed to be the speech part of it, and what is it that you need to cover in your speech?
That's a good question. Y'all want to take it or you want me to explain it? I don't care.
You can explain it. I got something to add after you explain it about.
I love it. Okay. So the skit is just kind of a scene, like you're doing some type of acting. So think of it like a 3-minute little movie or commercial. I say commercial, it's kind of a long commercial, but okay. Where you are featuring your chapter. And so your skit has to be something about Phi Theta Kappa. So it can be about recruitment, it can be about honors and action. You kind of get to pick the topic. And what I say is always do a skit and a topic that really reflects the personality of your chapter. Because even though the skit is fun, the idea here is to introduce yourselves to the region, right? To say this is who we are. And so I love the skits because I think so often we're so serious, and this is just really an opportunity to have a lot of fun. And so if you go to the Omicron Psi page, I'll just say on my chapter, some of our skits are on our Facebook page. You can look at some of them. We record them and put them up there. For good or for ill, they are there. And they tend to be just a little bit crazy because I think that reflects my chapter's personality. We're just a little all over the place. And so our skits are kind of like that. So like on the surface, you may be like, what is this mess? But it really says who we are. Again, like I said, for good or for ill, it says who we are. And so I think that's true. When most chapters really think about what they're doing for their skit, I think that's true, and it reflects who they are. And I think that those are the best. And we get to have 3 minutes of just kind of funny with those. And so I really enjoy them. Jacob, what do you want to add?
I was just going to say exactly like Miss Linder said, you have some chapters that go just crazy. I mean, the big thing that I remember from last time is TJC. They did like a history of BTK, and I mean, it was like every second was filled. They had all this stuff, and you're wowed by it, but you're also like, what's going on, which I love TJC. And then you had
and that's their chapter, right?
It is, yeah, and that's their chapter. It expresses who they are, but I mean, I think people have the opinion that to win, they have to make their skit as crazy as possible. But like Ms. Linder said, you kind of have to make it about you. Like when our chapter did it, Lily Hack was the girl that I did my skit with, and we were both speakers. So we spoke a lot. We did like a little skit where we spoke from a script. But I think my favorite one, which Kaylee, I think this was yours. You were the butterfly, right? That was my favorite one by far. And I mean, it was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it was short. Nobody spoke. Literally people just turning signs that had Kaylee walk across the stage. But it was about, somebody had coming into PTK. They had all these doubts, these things that were wrong. And then PTK comes, and then all of a sudden these doubts are turned into wisdom and hope and everything like that. And I think it just shows that some chapters, yeah, you want to go overboard, use the whole 3 minutes, but if you really put some time and thought into these skits, they'll leave an impact.
Absolutely. In my chapter, normally when they're voting, I listen to them debate, right? It's their decision, but I always listen to their conversations. And it'll often be, hey, that was the chapter that did the skit on. Like that's how they remember the chapter.
That's what we do.
So it's a lot of fun. What other questions?
Oh, but one question. Okay. Thank you for the skip part, but what about the speech?
The speech?
Mm-hmm.
So you do a 1-minute speech and it can be anybody from your chapter. So yes, if you already know who your rep is and you want that to be the person who speaks, that's great. If you don't, it can be anybody from chapter. Quite frankly, like if you really want to think strategically, maybe the person who's going to be the rep doesn't have that confidence to speak yet, and you want to put a stronger speaker up there from your chapter, that's fine too. Play to your strengths. And so that person will get up there and just do kind of a 1-minute, this is who we are and why you should vote for us. And that's really all it is. It's 60 seconds.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from any of our attendees?
No, it's fine. Go first.
So I did have a question. At the TLC, the RO-IO workshop, they were talking about the IO could be dual enrolled and still serve as an IO. Is that the same for RO as well?
It is. As long as you're enrolled at 6 semester credit hours at the community college level during your fall and spring for which you serve, then that's fine. So some of those hours, if some of your hours are also there, but you have to have 6 at the community college.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hi. Again. One question. How do you organize your meetings? Like, how do you know? Like, do you meet in person? If you do, like, how do you decide like how to do that?
Our regional officer meetings?
Yes, regional officer meeting. Yeah.
We do it this way.
So
We live on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also email and text a lot for the fast, instant communication.
Yeah.
But we have weekly meetings on Zoom.
We text every day. We love each other. We text every day.
Yep.
So you do have like a group me or something, right? Like a WhatsApp group in which you can just communicate directly. Okay.
Yeah, we have a group me that includes me, and then the ROs have their own for discussions they want to have that they don't want me a part of yet. So a lot of times when they're thinking and discussing and what have you, and then once they come to some type of decision, then they're like, okay, Linder, here's what we've decided. So they have that as well. But then, yeah, we do weekly for our planning. Sorry, Hope, what were you saying?
I said, or if we forget something you said, or if we missed a meeting, that's where we go to for notes and stuff.
Yes.
Hey, I have a question. So how does the chapter help the RO in terms of fulfill their duties or anything like that? How does the chapter contribute, or what role does the chapter play throughout the duration of the person who is in office?
Okay, that's a great question. And I think that's a little different for every chapter. So if y'all want to kind of give some insight into how your chapters have supported you, that'd be great.
My chapter has supported me through the entire process. I know that another chapter, they were represented, they didn't have to speak, but they were representing one of our VPs at an induction, but they didn't speak. It was just a representation of it. You guys are a representation of us. So when we're at conferences, people may have questions for you about the process, and we share that with our chapters because it's not just us. Yes, we hold the position, but it's a whole chapter involvement. When I'm looking for more ideas and I'm like, we can't come up with anything else. What else should we put on this playlist? Like, then they're like, hey, put some more, put this on there, put this on there. It's kind of, for me, a sounding board to get more, because I feel like I'm kind of out of the loop. I don't listen to what everyone listens to, and you don't want to listen to my music. So I'm always asking others, hey, what do you guys like? So, but they're very supportive. You definitely need that support. And then if the unfortunate thing happens and you have to step out of your role, then someone from your chapter will be the next to step up into your role. So they play a crucial part of it. That's why we run as a chapter.
Your chapter should also help lead by example during these conferences. They should, as regional officers, you plan a lot of activities, and there's a lot of things that you want people to participate in. And part of something that your chapter can do to help you is to go out and actively participate in these events.
And I don't know if this was just my misconception, because as you guys know, like I was new to it, but you know, when we were running for office, I saw the other ROs and I was like, they're their own thing. They're not even part of their chapter anymore. They sit by themselves. They don't interact. And it is nothing like that at all. Because as Lavada was saying, we springboard everything to the chapter. Nothing's like hidden, like, oh, I can't tell you it's RO stuff. We're always asking advice, things like that. And to answer your question directly, a lot of what my chapter does for me is that I was started to become a big part of my local chapter. You know, like with 3 other people, we were like 3 strong officers. And even then I was like, guys, I have to back off because I can't do this much as an officer kind of thing and then go do an RO kind of thing too. And that's the biggest help that they've given. They said, we've got this. You go do what you have to do and come back when you need to. And during conferences, setting example is a big thing. But I know the thing my chapter does for me is I think at least once a day, they'll grab me for 5 minutes. They're like, you need to chill. You need a break. Come with us and be crazy to a okay degree for a little bit. Just like at TLC, you know, you think as an RO, you have to be all serious, right? No. We were at the dance. I was all dressed up in a suit. 5 minutes later, I was in a tutu and like a Hogwarts robe. So, I mean, have fun with it and just know that your chapter is always going to support you and that you guys are a team. And just because you kind of get elevated to another position doesn't mean that you're not a part of each other's lives anymore.
And Jacob mentioned how his chapter grabbed him and said, hey, you need a break, you need to chill. They can also help to alleviate some of that burden and that stress. If I forgot my bag in the car or somewhere and I'm like, I need my speech is in there, I have to do this, then they have been a tremendous help to be the person that, give me your keys, I'll run and get it. You know, what do you need? What do you need to stay calm and stress-free? So your chapter plays a big role in helping you to get through those conferences.
Something else that is good to talk to your chapter about is have a designated person that's going to be at the conference that can either bring you water, coffee, some sort of snack, because we're constantly just running 90 miles an hour every different direction. So we forget to eat or drink water sometimes. So it's really good to have somebody to back you up on that.
I think that's a really good point, Kaylee, because even though obviously food and beverage are there, you guys get so wrapped up in doing things and handling things. I'm going to go do this one more thing, and then you get pulled again, and you sometimes don't stop to take care of yourself. And so having that reminder can be very helpful.
If I didn't have members from my chapter texting me, have you eaten, have you drink, or have you had something to drink, I probably would have passed out somewhere in those conferences. You need those reminders, and they are very good people to help with that.
Plus, I would expect that it's just a nice feeling to still get that reminder that your chapter is there and is supporting you and you're part of that group. And like being separated at conference because of your duties doesn't mean that you're not together. And so I think that's a good thing from that. What other questions?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a quick question for you, ROs. How do you guys deal with managing your time? Because I know you guys said that's one thing some of you guys were saying that you wish you could do better or that you wish you had some problems with. So how did you manage to deal with your time management?
We have some training over time management by our wonderful regional coordinator. But you just have to stick with it. And then I think another thing I was thinking about of advice to give is to do self-checks throughout the semester, not only on yourself, but also on others. Hey, How is everyone's balance? How is this? Not just for yourself, but for your other teammates. But you do get some training over it, and I will tell you to take that advice and use it the rest of your life, because it's some great information that she's going to give you during the training.
I mean, to get like a little personal with it, just in life, you're going to have things happen. Things are not going to run smoothly, especially when you're doing something like a regional officer role and you have a lot of other things on your plate. Like I've gone through medical problems for the past like 3 weeks where I had to drop a class and everything like that. And because I have this amazing family around me, I didn't have to worry about my RO duties, because I knew that they were going to have the meetings. They were going to take care of things. Things were not going to fall apart if I was not there. And that's a great feeling to know that you have people around you that will support you no matter what and can say, go take time for yourself if you need it and come back when you're better. So just kind of having that assurance just helps with the time management, because okay, maybe I need to spend a little more time doing this week. Maybe I need to take back on something this week. You know that you're going to be able to, and still able to keep your schedule and keep everybody happy. Because I think that's the hardest thing, is trying to keep everybody happy. So just remember that it's your time and make sure you use it effectively.
Anybody else? No?
Another question?
Yes.
Okay. So now, I see that you all like work in a big like group, and that's amazing. But now, like, is it any process in which you decide who's going to attend like different like inductions or different like meetings from other chapters? Like, is there any just process? Like, I know that you all have like your own like chapter, and I imagine that you just go whatever you can. But sometimes, I don't know if you as a District 3 officer, for example, you can go to inductions from District 2 or like District 1. I don't know if that happens. And if it is a requirement, if anything.
So I'm going to answer this one. So you can attend things outside of your district. But I will tell you that you're going to have a regional coordinator who's going to be like, okay, is this the best use of your time? Because you've got to manage all of your other things. You've got to make sure, if you're a VP especially, that you've taken care of your district first, because that is your primary responsibility, and not lost yourself somewhere in the process. And so, yes, you technically can, but maintaining your balance is very important there. The primary responsibility is to your district first. And so what I always tell the regional officers, even if you're in a VP role and things like that, that you're going to get invitations to attend, you'll get invitations to speak, and you accept the ones that you can do without making yourself just completely stretched so thin that it becomes a problem, because it can affect your physical and mental health. And I don't want that to ever be an issue. And so you accept the ones you can, and you give your regrets when you have to, and you can always, so let's say that Lavada were asked to speak at an induction and she can't do that, but she could say, would you like somebody else from my chapter? That is an offer that can be made. And if the chapter's okay with it, then somebody else from the chapter can go and speak. But if they're not okay with it, then they'll let you know, like, no, we're good. So.
Okay, one more thing. When we attended the THI workshop that the officers had done, there was a PowerPoint that talked that gave us a lot of good points in terms of how do we like get the funds to like go from one induction to another, who bears the expenses and things like that. So I think it's for those who didn't get a chance to attend that, can you please kind of go over that a little bit?
Well, I mean, you're provided a stipend that is to cover your expenses as a regional officer. So you get $500 each of your tenure in office, and that is to help cover those expenses that you have.
Are you meaning like the registration fees for events?
I did not consider that. But yes, since that has been brought up, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, that's all covered by the region. Anything you're expected to be at, that is covered by the region.
But you also get to go on amazing trips, free of cost too, to like the actual international. You know, we went to California, right?
Mm-hmm.
San Diego, California this summer, just because we were a regional officer, it's hosted there. We had the opportunity to go to Catalyst, which was an amazing thing. So it's not just paying for the things that you have to speak at and plan, but you're also getting the opportunities to go even farther up and really enjoy the process not many other people get to. So it's something to keep in mind. It's definitely worth the experience.
And I'm taking the regional officers next month to headquarters. Yeah, the idea is that what you're needing to do to serve should not come out of your pocket. That's why we provide you a stipend, your registration fees to regional events and planning meetings, all of that's covered by the region because you're doing the business of the region. So it's not an expense on your chapter either.
Oh, I have a question now that you mentioned some cost. And I mean, I have my own suit, for example. So you do so many events, I imagine that you need more than one. So things like that, how does it work? Like you also have to pay for your own like atuendo to represent the school, or the chapter also like helps you in that regard?
Pay for your what?
Like the suit, like yeah.
So again, that should come from your stipend.
Okay.
And I would recommend that you and your team, when you're planning that, you try to find something that you already have so you don't have to go out and buy something new every time. That's what we try to do. We're like, what do you have in your closet? What works? So you don't have to go out and buy something every single time it's an event.
Yep.
And I'll give you advice as a guy, man. If you have one suit, you can make it work and just switch up the ties, basically. It's a whole new outfit. So it's a lot easier for us than it is for others to just keep that in mind and enjoy
Must
that.
be nice.
No,
yeah, I know. It's just in case, you know.
Yeah, I understand.
You know, I'm okay with the one I have, but no problem.
They found a good shop. They can give you some advice on a good shop to go to.
There you go. What other questions?
But I want to know, how far in advance do you guys have a schedule of the events you guys plan to do?
We have it for the whole year.
The first time we had a planning meeting, we had a schedule of everything. So we already knew that first time for the whole year we were going to serve.
Thank you.
Try not to let there be too many surprises. I only like surprises when they like come in packages and are shiny. That's exciting.
I appreciate that schedule because you have work and you have other obligations. You have enough time to request off. You have enough time to, for me, arrange babysitters. You have enough time to say yes and no to other people because you already have this on your planner. So I really do appreciate that agenda or their calendar ahead of time. So thank you for that. I don't think I've ever said thank you for that. So thank you.
You're welcome. What other question?
Oh, one question. After you get elected, like how soon? I don't know if my English is correct in this one, but how soon do you start actually working as an officer? Like, you start working like the next day, or you have like a period of 1 week when someone is mentoring what you're supposed to do? Like, how is that process?
So I will tell you that between regionals and Catalyst, you feel, I think this is probably true, you feel kind of a little in flux because that's our transition period where we're rotating out the previous team and bringing in the new team. And so a lot of it may feel kind of like hurry up and wait. But we're really trying to close out things because induction season is already well underway. And so kind of navigating that transitioning emails and what have you. Catalyst, you'll have some kind of early responsibilities, things that you need to prepare, like bios and get headshots and things like that. Like, you'll do that in that interim. But Catalyst is really kind of like this is when your official start is, if you will. And the other team is like, we're off duty. So like I said, you'll have some light things, but it really, really begins with Catalyst.
We used a lot of that downtime also to bond between us. Like I say, we do talk every day, but we kind of use that to bond between us. We tried to kind of brainstorm things, but we didn't know what we were brainstorming for. So that didn't really help. So just start bonding during that time.
Yeah, I think that's a great use of that time. Okay, one last question, if anybody has one last question.
Actually, I have a question. Okay. We know how many chapters are running for district or
because the application's not open yet.
But once the application, will we know?
You'll know once the application closes.
Okay.
Announcement will be made of all the chapters that are running for which position.
Okay.
So just to kind of clarify a couple of things here at the end, the application will go live on the website. I'm hoping this week before Thanksgiving, but I can't promise that because headquarters has to update the website. So if not this week, then early next week, then that information should go live on the website, and it'll be the rules, kind of the basic FAQs about what it is to serve, and then, yeah, the links to the application itself. You will need to, for every chapter that is running for regional office, you'll need to attend one of our Zoom meeting rule sessions. This does not count as a rule session. This was just an informational webinar. And so all that information of those dates and times will be provided as well. And there are several, and you can sign up for the one you want to attend. It has to be an advisor and a member from each chapter that's running for office has to attend one of those rules meeting webinars. But you don't have to attend the same one together, and it doesn't have to be the person who ultimately will hold the position who attends. Somebody from your chapter has to attend, and then an advisor. But that is a requirement just so we can cover all the rules for the campaigning itself. The application deadline, I'll just go ahead and give this to you so you'll have it, is going to be February 15th. So February 15th, 2020, that's the deadline for the application. So you will have plenty of time. You can run for the VP position of your district as well as regional president. So there are two positions that your chapter can run for. And so you get to make the choice of which one of those you need to run for. Do plan to get your application started a little early because it does require the signature of your college president. Because your chapter is running as a chapter, we do need to see an indication that your college is behind you taking on this role. And so your advisor and your college president does have to sign that application. And in some institutions, it's easier to get into the college president than others. And so that's why I say kind of plan ahead. If it takes some time to get into your college president to get that signed, you want to start getting on his calendar or her calendar as soon as possible. With that, I want to thank all of our regional officers for being here and sharing some really great information. I think I can give you a lot of the informational mechanical type things, but I think it's very helpful to hear from the individuals who are serving these roles exactly what to expect and what this experience has been like. And I want to thank all of our attendees today for being here and giving us some really great questions. I hope to see your chapters applications coming in when those go live. I'm very excited. But it's a wonderful experience. Just running, one of the regional officers mentioned it before, but just running for regional office is a tremendously powerful bonding experience for your chapter. And so I wish everybody would just do it. It's really a great thing. And so if you have any questions at any time, please reach out to one of the regional officers. You can also reach out to me. I'm happy to provide any information that I can. And with that, I will say I'm going to put this recording up on the website as well so that you can go back and revisit any of these answers or share with others who weren't able to be here. So thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate it. And y'all have a good week and a